This is Brian. I'm the Regional Science Coordinator at Northwest ESD in Anacortes, Washington. And I wanted to share with you something from the OpenSciEd website. I just learned a little bit more about it this week, and I think it'll be really helpful for a lot of people. So, right now, you'll notice that I'm on their website and I am not logged in. You do not need to be logged in to access what I'm about to show you. Of course, you do need to have an account and be logged in if you want to access the professional learning. I'm sorry, to be able to access the instructional materials that are on their website. Um, anyway, I always hear from a lot of people, hey, our district has just said that we're using OpenSciEd this year, and they don't have the funding or the time in our calendar to be able to get us some really good training for it. I totally get where you're at. That's not helpful when you have an open educational resource like OpenSciEd that is so big. They've thrown everything and the kitchen sink into these units and field tested all of it extensively with thousands and thousands of students across the nation. This stuff is good, but there's a lot of stuff there to help support people. So this piece may be a little piece of what may help you make some sense out of it. Again, this is their website. I'm going to go to the professional learning tab that they have here and click down. And the third item down is the on-demand teacher support library. Again, this is for teachers, so I'm going to click there and I'm brought to this page. And there's different sections of the page. So I want to walk through with you what you've got here in the library. In the first section here, that's kind of gray, you've got teaching with storylines, daily teaching moves, assessment, differentiation, planning and preparation, and unit specific resources. We'll come back to that in just a moment. All right, so again, each of these topics is really important to OpenSciEd, but if you haven't had the training, it's going to be really helpful to get some support from some of these about some of these topics. So, for instance, if I click into teaching with storylines, we can find here that there is all kinds of information for me. The power of anchoring a phenomenon, that's a video. How do you supercharge notice and wondering? How the anchor phenomenon is chosen, if you want to know background about where those came from. So again, lots of great information. How do I generate initial models with kids? A video. Tips for leading initial consensus model discussions, right? This is all, these are the routines, right? So how do I do this kind of stuff with students? Um, Background around why storylines and why are they used in OpenSciEd, similar structures in iHub, similar structures in next-gen storylines, similar structures in ambitious science teaching units that are developed. Uh, Key routines, all right? Again, that's coming soon. We have NGSS in the 3 dimensions, more coming soon. So lots of really good information behind each of these big topics for you. All right. Underneath that section, there are some featured videos. How do you support transfer tasks? Why Student Talk matters in OpenSciEd. Tour of the lesson level resources, and we'll see some of those things in just a moment. Then they have tutorials and webinars, more teacher resources. Again, tons of stuff in here. None of this is inside the folders, the Google folders where the instructional materials live, but there's bits and pieces of it all over the place. So sometimes, like if I come to OpenSite and I'm going, I'm teaching lesson 7.1. To be honest, that's what my head is focused on. So they've set some things up to be helpful for you in that case. If I go back up here and I go to the unit specific resources and we say, okay, I'm going to go to middle school because I'm a middle school teacher. I click on there, and these buttons up here are just a repeat of the previous menus that we saw, right? They're just smaller. But down below, I've got sixth grade units, seventh grade units, and eighth grade units. Well, I'm most familiar with seventh grade, and if I'm teaching 7.1, that's where I'm going to find it. So I'm going to click into seventh grade. And here on the left-hand side, we'll see all of the units listed out. So you can click and jump to any of these units, and it'll drag you down to that unit. But back at Unit 7.1, you'll notice something interesting. Under Unit 7.1, there's two categories of things. There are lesson level resources, which are new, and then there are unit level resources, which we've had for a long time. But here they're organized all under Unit 7.1, which makes them a lot easier to find. If I take a look at these lesson level resources, what I've got here are a whole bunch of videos, one for every lesson in the unit. That is a planning video. So it's going to help you remember where this lesson fits in the storyline. Where did the lesson come from in terms of student experience? What is it trying to accomplish? And then where is it going to be going? So it can help you as a teacher get ready for keeping the unit together and maintaining that idea of coherence from the student's perspective. Now, inside these, they will also talk to you about, hey, here's the equipment that you're probably using in the experiment that you're setting up. Now, that may differ for you depending on whether or not the unit that you're using is coming out of from Carolina Biological or ECA or some other organization. So your setup may be a little bit different, but by and large, what you do with your students is going to be really similar to what you'll see in these videos. So be sure to consult your teacher manual that came with your instructional materials. These will be based on the OER version of the units. All right. Then we have these unit level resources right underneath them. And these are big, big picture things for the whole of the unit. So here's the webinar, which I highly recommend. If you have not taught your unit before and you've never seen the webinar, that's going to focus on the storyline, the really big picture. Where does the unit, or sorry, how does the unit launch? Where is it going and how does it kind of resolve? They take for middle school 60 to 90 minutes, somewhere in that range. So it's a good chunk of time. Would be great to talk with your curriculum director at your district and see, hey, can I get clock hours for watching that webinar? I'm going to have to do it anyway. And, again, something to check into. Here's the Unit 7.1 Quick Start Guide. These are great if you're new to a unit. What they've done is they've taken a whole bunch of advice from people that were in the field test and people that have been using these units and revising units and all that stuff now for many years for the middle school. And this guide will offer a streamlined overview of it. I'm going to click read more so we can see what this looks like. And what they've done here, this unit is 7.1, chemical reactions and matter. Here's the driving question for the whole unit. It gives you a really big overview. Here's the first lesson set that is units 1 through 6, kind of what they're trying to accomplish. And the second lesson set, lessons 7 through 14, what they're trying to accomplish. It gives you links to what should you do before teaching the unit, right? Watch the unit webinar. Why not? It's going to help you. You can join the Facebook group. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit. You can review the unit overview material list if you have to procure your own materials if you're doing the OER version. Um, it'll give you, in this case, I have to make some bath bombs for the unit. It gives me a recipe or a teacher prep video rather for the recipe, so I know how to do this thing, right? So useful information. I can read the storyline, which is a really big 30,000 foot view, maybe a 3,000 foot view of the unit on a whole. It's kind of like a paper version of the unit webinar. And then I can review the assessment system. So again, if this is my first time teaching 7.1, this is really helpful. Plus, they have advice while teaching the unit. What are some things that I should look out for and pay attention to? What are some things after teaching the unit that I might want to keep track of or hold on to? And then some fast facts for planning at the bottom. Unit length, how many lessons, how many days? Best case scenario estimate for the time there, right? 25 days for 14 lessons might be a little ambitious for people if this is your first time doing one of these units. Lessons with hands-on investigations, here they are. So you can kind of think in your calendar, where am I going to have stuff that I'm going to have to set up for the kids? Lessons requiring student devices in this unit, not applicable. They can do this without any kind of student devices. Lessons that require in advance materials prep. This is really handy for thinking about preparing those hands-on things that were over here. And then lessons with midpoint or summative assessment moments. Again, looking at that big picture in lessons 5, 6, 10, 12, and 14, maybe that's where I'm going to be collecting something a little more substantial to record in the grade book than simply participated or finished the day's work, right? So again, this is a really useful document, good to be aware of. Again, that's the Quick Start Guide, and you'll find that right down here in the in unit level resources. Then we have unit absent student support videos. So if someone is absent, how might you support them getting caught up? Because we know that's a reality and it's a big problem. Grading planning tool to help you and maybe your team figure out how are we going to use these materials in conjunction with our online gradebook, right? So there's some considerations for you to think about there. And then lastly, here's a link to those Facebook groups. Now, I know not everyone is on Facebook. I know it's a pain to set up a profile to be able to access something like this, but I'll tell you, there is no place else with the sheer number of people that are trying it out and talking in one location. I've thought in the past about trying to set things up just in my region for it. Well, let's say that you're teaching Unit 7.1 halfway through the year and you post a question on there. Who's going to reply to you? Well, the likelihood of you finding another teacher in our region that's teaching that particular unit at the same time you are is not very high. These units don't have to be taught in this order, right? So again, I know not everyone likes Facebook, but I have to tell you, those groups are really valuable to have access to. You might consider setting up an account just for that purpose alone. So you have a place to go and ask questions and find things that people have shared. So that's what I've got for you in this video. It's kind of short, but again, just really exciting to know that these things are being pulled together in a way that's easier to find. Quick recap, how to get to there: professional learning, on-demand teacher support library, unit-specific resources, and choose your grade level. By the way, those videos that I showed you for preparing those lessons, they only have those for the point 1 units in middle school right now. High school is coming. Elementary, once it's all done, we'll probably see similar videos there. But for right now, those are only in middle school. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful, and good luck and have lots of success getting into OpenSciEd with your students.